We'd like to extend a warm welcome to all the attendees of the fourth chapter of Samanvaya 2023. IIM Kashipur Annual HR Conclave, where we attempt to coordinate and integrate exceptional human resource ideas and discover innovative practices to implement them. Human capability revolves around the collective potential and power of people to create, innovate, and achieve great things. However, despite the incredible potential of human capability, many people around the world are not able to fully harness the talents and abilities due to various systematic barriers. Keeping this in mind, the theme of the conclave is human centricity, future of workforce, with the focus of human capability and reimagining the power of people. Without any further ado, we would like to introduce our guest for this afternoon. Our first guest is Dr. Sanjeev Dixit. Sir has an experience of over 25 years in the field of human resource. He is currently the CHRO at Jindal. He has held key strategic positions in Cadila Pharmaceuticals, Kenbox Technologies, Frito-Lay India, Philips, and Hindalco, among others. He has been a dedicated and result-oriented global HR leader with a distinguished career driving business transformation. His credentials include Chartered Fellow CIPD, Fellow Certified Practitioner Human Resource, to name a few. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Next, we have Mr. Paramveer Singh Narang. With an experience of over 18 years, he is a talented HR professional with an experience in talent acquisition, branding, employee engagement, and talent management, with expertise in managing progressively complex and niche hiring, including leadership roles. He has worked with many global giants, including JP Morgan, Bank of America, Standard Chartered, ANZ Bank, and Fidelity, to lead technology and operation hiring for global locations. In his current role with Capital One Data Labs India, as a talent acquisition leader, he is building the capability for engineering and analytics division. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Shivangi, you are on mute.
Next, we have Ms. Sunanda Banerjee, who is currently heading talent management and L&D for Hindware Group. She carries an experience of more than 13 years in varied domestic and international industries, including a few big names such as Dun & Bradstreet and Law Lintus, among others. She's also a TEDx speaker and a mentor on board at IIM Community, India Accelerator, amongst other brands. She's a proud founder of a startup 𝐶𝐞 incubated at IIM Ahmedabad CIIE. She has been awarded as Emerging L&D Leader of the Year 2022 by Tesseract, an MBA from KJ Somaiya, MS from London, and PhD. Her training and development workshops and courses have clocked more than 4,200 hours. She has trained corporate professionals at academic institutes and professional development bodies. She is an empaneled trainer with multiple reputed organizations and is also a behavioral intervention specialist for executive development. She is an ICF executive coach and a certified CPD as well. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shivangi. Thank you so much.
We also have with us Mr. Kamal Artwani, the HR leader at Tekion Corp. He is an all-rounder HR leader with over 19 years of experience in talent acquisition, employer branding, university relations, strategic HR, talent management, employee engagement, employee relations, vendor management, and M&A. He has worked for global organizations in diverse domains like networking, e-commerce, data analytics, and IT. Sir is a recipient of top 100 young HR leaders in 2021 and has also been awarded as 101 top HR mind in 2019. He's actively involved with universities by collaborating with them through Board of Studies, career counseling sessions for students, and guest lectures. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Shivangi.
Finally, we have with us Mr. Savinay Goel, who will be moderating this discussion today. He's currently working with DE Shaw India as the talent acquisition specialist. He has gained the fundamental working knowledge of various verticals within HR during his pre-MBA and MBA years, starting from his time interning at a recruitment consultancy in Chandigarh to completing his summer internship at Morgan Stanley. Savinay believes in the power of people, and he strongly supports upskilling and education for a better world. He recently initiated a 3-week program at his alma mater high school, wherein he taught essential soft skills to over 100 students. As a personal endeavor, he loves to write fiction. He has written more than 15 short stories and is in the process of writing his first book. He is also our proud alumnus of IIM Kashipur of the batch 2020-2022. We welcome you, sir, and would like to begin this discussion with our panelists.
Thanks a lot, Shivangi. It feels great to be here. Just a year back, I was on the other side of the table attending Samanvaya as a student. It feels good to be back. And thanks to all the students, alumni, and all the people who may have connected with us through YouTube. So yeah, really looking forward to a great conversation. And thank you, panelists, for joining us today. So our topic of the discussion today is human capability, reimagining the power of people. And I want to start this conversation with basics. I would like to ask the panel, what is your take on human capability and how do you think that it can create a difference within an organization? Opening the floor for discussion. Let's start with you, Sunanda, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you for opening the floor first with me. I hope it's not just for the ladies' first sake of it.
Not at all.
Les, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's a great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to a lot of learning with such esteemed speakers along. As far as, workforce people into consideration, and if we look at the current dynamics of the industry that's been happening around, it's not really very pleasant. Especially post a very tough time of COVID. Last 1 year has been immensely difficult for people, and not just, domain of startups, but the best of brands that you know about and you've heard about, and the kind of layoffs, the kind of news that's going around, and especially the audience here of students whom we are speaking with today. I'm sure there's a lot of ambiguity, uncertainty, and a feeling of restlessness that we all can experience. Having said that, as far as this complete domain of workforce, as we call it, as people resources, as we call it, there is not, even if you talk about automation industries, you talk about, artificial intelligence and all the new areas of data and machine learning, deep learning sciences, which would, which seem to be taking over people, but that's not really the case. End of the day, it's the people who would drive, how things are, moving ahead. As far as, and I'm sure the other speakers would have much more to add here, but the changing force or the changing dynamics would only continue to be in favor of people if they continue to think of it as, I need to move, I need to keep the ball rolling with better learning, new learnings. How do I keep myself upgrading rather than just because I've done my degree, I've done my basics, and that's fine. I learn as I go ahead, but that's not, that creating that edge is no more a matter of, once in a while, but that's a hygiene, that's a new hygiene. Where figuring out what I'm good at, what is it that I, the sweet spot that we talk about in the areas of HR, where understanding that my expertise area, my interest areas, and going deeper as, as possible. And again, spreading it laterally as well becomes very important. So I think that's where the dynamics of workforce will have, that's where it looks going ahead rather than, doing it what I have been doing for all this while. And that's not going to continue. We'll have to relook at how workforce, not just from, and both sides, not just from the employee part of it, but also from the HR, from the organization part of it, of where just incentives, promotions are not enough. How do I keep people engaged? How do I ensure that talent is valued enough, talent is recognized enough, and talent is groomed enough to be able to move ahead? Yeah, that's I think, I'm sure other panel speakers would have a lot to add. Thank you.
Indeed. Interesting. Kamal sir, your views?
Totally agree with Sunanda. Thank you, Sunanda, for setting the tone. Really, you brought about a very important point, right? The machine learning, the AI, any new technology or any new innovation that is coming up, it's for whom? It's for people, right? And who's bringing about this, right? It's the people. So, saying that technology is going to drive everything going forward and undermining the human capability, I don't think that's the future. The future is again human. We are the ones who are driving this technology. We are the ones who wants this technology to help us, right? So from that perspective, I do look at the capabilities that we bring onto the table. And all the students here and the people out here, they themselves are very smart. They know what they want for them in the future. They hold that thing very dear to them. Everybody has their own milestones, and using technology for that perspective is very, very important, very vital. But undermining yourself and saying that no, technology is going to drive us, not we, might not be the right thing to do. But yes, I am totally with Sunanda there. And looking forward to meeting all of these young Turks who are coming to the college, coming from the colleges to the companies, to our organizations, whatever value add they can bring and make things better. I'm looking forward to that capability from their mind, from their passion. That's what I'm looking for.
Great to hear that, Kamal sir. Paramveer sir, over to you.
Thanks, Savinay. So firstly, I think thank you so much for inviting as a panelist for IIM Kashipur. I think it's just a great opportunity for all of us to have a great learning from the bright students. And Sunanda, thank you so much for setting up a stage for all of us. It's again not really because women are the first, but yes. So they feel that you are the most one who have a great learning experience, can set up a great content for all of us. Thank you so much. And I am absolutely aligned what Kamal said that. Technology is definitely taking a lead, but who's driving that? Which is people are the one who are driving it. And at the same time, I think there are a lot of avenues are coming up. Which is actually with a way of technology, they are coming to us and they are setting up new opportunities, new heights for us. I'm actually based out of Bangalore, and it says that Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. At the same time, Bangalore is the hub of the problems as well. Starting with the traffic to everything, you name a problem that's there in Bangalore. But at the same time, that gives the opportunity to the technologies to build something new and capitalizing it. I think a lot of startups, if you see that, they start in Bangalore, and not only from the the grocery delivery to the some of the dosa makings, everything which is coming up, that's coming up in Bangalore. The reason for that is because, and that's not only, that's a relative example to a Bangalore, but if you look at broadly, so India have lot of opportunities. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my industry colleague, and fortunately, he's recently moved to London, and he said there are a lot of problems in London, but they have a lot of privileges when they are in India, starting from the home stuff delivery to your doorstep in 10 minutes. I think there are startups like Blinkit. The moment you blink your eyes, somebody is standing at your door to deliver the stuff for you. So technology is leading, but there's a human brain which is working behind that, how to utilize those technologies so that we can create more opportunities on the ground. One, secondly, they are setting up stone for the another startups, to bring something new there. I think we had this, Amazon delivery, we had this big basket delivery, which was taking a couple of days. The recent, the startup, which is Blinkit, Zapto, they are setting up another milestone to deliver the, stuff for you in 10 minutes, right? So that's where, technology, they're using technology, but yes, human brain is working behind that to ensure that, we are getting something new all the time.
Thank you, Paramveer. It's really interesting examples that you set the tone with. I'm over to Sanjeev sir. What's your take on human capability, sir?
So thank you so much for having me, and glad to be part of entire, I would say, young leaders or future leaders from IIM Kashipur, and then a very interesting panel as well. Now, I think we are talking about ourselves when we talk about human capability, and sound very cliched that we at times don't show ourselves in the mirror. That all the I will say, whatever we are talking about in terms of what we have achieved and what we are going to achieve, this is all about the I will say, unlimited potential of the human capabilities and the mind. And if we see any success story, even defeating a pandemic like COVID, I think it's all about the way we become so resilient.
Stand by यानी
I think another example of how we leverage our human capability in terms of unmuting the mic. I think somebody unmuted. So I request the organizer to just keep the mic mute. And if there are queries, for sure, they can definitely interject. Okay, so what I was mentioning was that even defeating a huge pandemic, which was kind of a very, very, I will say, unprecedented and never ever in our own, you can say, life cycle, we have seen such kind of a pandemic. We defeated it in a very, very short period. That shows the power of the resilience, agility, and the way we kind of become more, as I said, I will say, capable, or we say we will leverage our capability more when there is a adversity. So that is the quality of human, I will say, design in the human race. And that is where, as a professionals, and I think I always keep asking myself and the team and the organization where I have worked and working, that how we can unleash our potential, how we unshackle our inhibitions. We have various, you can say, ways and means by which we have never leveraged our full potential yet. And we keep discussing about a lot of theories and frameworks and whatnot. The point here is, let's first look inward and then look outward and try to see, number one, what are my strengths? Do I know about my strengths? Am I leveraging them on my day-to-day working? How this power of strength can create I will say, a multiplier effect in the organization, in the enterprise, in the institution, in the society, in the nation, in the global context. And I can tell you, Savinay, that this power of an inherent talent, which we call strength, can and has given us all the discoveries and invention and Elon Musk and Teslas of the world and SpaceX of the world, and will continue to give. Only point is, can we bring in the focus on that 20% which gave us the 80%, which is your strength? And that is the foundation of the immense potential of human capability.
Great to hear that, sir. And I totally love the fact that the panel believes in the human capability. I'm sure human capability is here to stay and drive things forward. To extend upon
which
this
is
topic,
our capability, Savinay.
Definitely.
Our capability. We are human.
Our capability. Definitely.
Talking about ourselves.
Yes. To extend the conversation forward, I would like to take your views that how organizations can promote and support the initiatives of people and drive this human capability forward. What are your views? Let's start with Kamal, sir, this time.
Okay, so, Savinay, a couple of points that Sanjeev sir brought in, right? I would kind of take it to a little more in depth. So we spoke a lot about our own self. Sanjeev sir, I'll correct myself. We'll not say human capability, our own self, right? So I strongly feel that this topic has not been discussed too much. Every time there has been discussion around innovation, and things like that. But it is for us as employers, as also employees, we all are one, right? Today, somebody is an employer because earlier they might be an employee. As Sanjeev sir mentioned, we have the Teslas and we also have Elon Musk, who have come out of all this, right? This is because of the potential and the creativity, I would say, right? If there is no potential and creativity, these things cannot happen, number one. And number two, I'll go back to what Param said. He picked the example of Bangalore, right? So I'll pick that example a little bit and build on it. We are the problem, and we also have the solution, right? So when we talk about traffic in Bangalore, we spoke about, how you kind of spend or waste your time maybe in the traffic, but how you can leverage and make it better and help the environment, help ourselves in a way, is to come up with and use technology and to come up with some apps which help you in carpooling, right? That is one thing. And he spoke about Blinkit as well. Yeah, we are the problem. We are unable to step out of the house, go do shopping because of our maybe work, maybe because of the tight schedules we have. And pandemic has changed a lot of things, right? So a lot of companies are having this work from home concept. And during that, you cannot step out to buy anything. So you have the Blinkits and other things of the world which have come up with a solution which will help you solve your problem, and that too in a very faster way. From 2 days to 10 minutes is a huge gap that is covered, right? It's not just a little bit of a gap that you're talking about. So these are two things that I look at: creativity and potential, which is helping technology and innovation go forward, but again, giving solution to us itself for our own problems.
Great to hear that, sir. Paramveer, sir, your views?
Sorry, I think I'm too much in this discussion. I forgot the question. If you can repeat the question, please.
Sure. So the question was, how can organizations promote human capability, our capability?
Okay. So I think organizations are already working on it. If you look at it, right? So I remember, I think much before even the pandemic days, when I was working in my previous organizations, we used to do a lot of offsites, right? We used to do a lot of, offsite doesn't mean that just to go and attend and have a good food. Of course, that's there given. And we need to listen some sort of leadership, sessions as well. But at the same time, there are a lot of brainstorming sessions we also do, which is to talk about how we should collaborate within HR. If I say that within HR, we have 10 different verticals, starting with talent acquisition to HR BPs to ER, comp and ban, and other few more are there, including my operational stuff as well. So they are, like you are a TA partner now in 𝐷, right? So how a TA partner will be a successful without collaborating with all the other within HR functions? You can't success. You can't have a success there because you have to collaborate with everybody. Somebody has to deal with you for coordination standpoint. Somebody has to give you a comp and ban details as well. Somebody has to manage the HR expectation with the leadership team. And again, you will have a operations team who will be making the success to roll out the offers, getting BGB done, and then onboarding. There's another team as well. So you have to, as an individual, you have to collaborate with everybody. So when we used to have those offsites, right? So I think it's a clearly asked for, like, how you're collaborating with your stakeholder, how you're having those convincing skills as well, influential skills as well, right? And, when you are talking about the stakeholders, you are again collaborating with them as well to have their success and how you are partnering with them to have a success. Of course, nowadays we have a lot of technologies comes in, since we, have this pandemic time, we have a Trello board, a lot of online platforms where you can collaborate with the stakeholders and the rest of the organization leadership team. But at the same time, human plays a beautiful role there to ensure that we are reaching out to the multiple people, getting them on the same platform, and then we start, organizing it. Like I said, so there is organizations have already invested and they will keep investing on people so that they can learn more technology and they can drive more and achieve more, of course.
Great, sir. Thanks a lot for setting up the context of collaboration and the importance of taking things forward in terms of in a team, to set the human capabilities forward. What are your views on this, Sunanda ma'am?
I think thanks to Kamal and Paramveer that I'll be able to I'll still be fine to use the word, I'll still continue using the word human capability because I think end of the day, even if you're talking about all of us, it's difficult to say our, but yeah, across. because it's very different, it's very dynamic, and it's very, very contextual for everyone. Having said that, I would, in fact, before I put this opinion ahead, I would apologize to everyone here, because it's kind of an unpopular opinion. HR, human resources, and since all of the students here, a lot of you would have already, chosen the specialization for HR, or you would be planning to. As a function that has been seen and looked as support system for organizations for decades now, since the time, organizations have been in existence. And that has continued to be support function for a very, very long time. And no fault of either side, let me also say. So when I read about, or I talk to stalwarts like, Dr. Dixit, who have been in the industry for so long, and understand the dynamics of how HR has evolved when it was, employee relations, industrial relations, where the MBA HR didn't exist. The term was industrial relations, personnel management, and then moving on to labor management, and then human resources. And now we have these fancier terms of head of people and culture, chief people officer. CPO wasn't really a designation a while ago. Now what has happened is businesses, of course there is change that is happening in the industry, where more and more organizations are looking at this division as something which is very intricate to business rather than just a support function. It is becoming more and more important to how businesses run. Having said that, there is still a lot of element missing, I believe, from the fraternity, all of us, I feel, where understanding one is we do, as coming to your question and why I'm putting this references, when you say what can organizations do, and of course it somewhere leads to what HR can do, where it's actually not the case. It's actually a very, and when Paramveer mentioned about the word collaboration, the collaboration is a lot amongst businesses, business people, where HR facilitates the entire process. That's the objective. So rather than looking at, it's like, government should fix everything, and organizations and people feel HR should fix this. So it's not HR's job solely to fix things if things are not going great, and engagements or event organizations is, that's the only job. HR is there to build the business along with, the other stakeholders. That's where, of course, engagements and events and offsites and everything are a minuscule part of it. But there is so much more. First of all, let's say things like, rather than doing an online well-being program, which all of us have been, from the HR space, we have been, responsible for doing those online well-being programs. But after 14, 12 Zoom meetings, the employee was exhausted, and still they had to attend a well-being program online. So then understanding what people need, starting from there, what is it that's missing in the current set of things that they're doing, and what is it that is feasible for them. So when I'm looking at all those together, that's when I say that, okay, it's not, sending one nice hamper once in a while is not enough for my people to feel engaged enough or to feel motivated enough. What they need, let's say, how about one additional skill that would enrich their profile? And that's what they, are ready with 6 months later to have a larger profile, a larger role to be taken up in the organization. So that, I think, it is very important for us to be able to look at it a very cohesive way of how we deal with other businesses and other stakeholders and build that together, rather than looking at HR as they are supposed to do 1, 2, 3, these tick marks, and that's about it. But that's not the case. It's equally integral to how businesses function, rather than an ancillary or a support function anymore. So yeah, I think that way the contribution of HR is far, far more to help, keep the workforce engaged and keep the workforce going, basically.
Thanks a lot for this, Sunanda ma'am. The way you stressed upon HR as a strategic function and how we can drive things through empathy, taking the things forward, not just keeping 14 sessions for well-being, but actually seeing that how well-being can happen. That's really great to hear. Sanjeev sir, what are your views? You mentioned about Teslas driving the world, but how can we as an organization or any organization can create mini Teslas at their own level, and how can they support these initiatives?
No, I took the example of Tesla, which got, I think, over-amplified. The point I was mentioning was about Elon Musk, the guy who looked inward and I will say explode or unleash his potential. And that's where today has become a testimony and example of how individual strength can metaphor into I will say, a path-breaking and groundbreaking innovations. That was the point. He's also a normal human being like us. But then why he is where he is? Because the way he focused on his inherent talent, which was obviously, I will say, a genius level of creativity and innovation. So without sounding very intellectual, I just want to engage with a small exercise with all the audience, because ultimately the power of communication is when it is relevant to the audience. And there is all fresh students sitting here. And I don't want to brag about my, 26 years of corporate life and whatever credentials you have spoken in the introduction. So you have the reaction, I think, tab here in your Zoom. So my first question to all these budding leaders, managers, who wants to be successful? And you can put the reaction in terms of saying that you want or you don't want. If you raise your hand, means you want. You can see the reaction tab in the Zoom, right?
I think reactions have started coming in.
Yes. So I will be surprised if it is less than 100%.
Yes, true.
Very good. Okay, fine. The next question is, who wants to be healthy? I think again, I would be surprised if it is less than 100%.
Right.
Correct? Everybody would like to be healthy? Great. Superb. Now, very honest answer, this one, which I'm asking. How many of us are spending 30 minutes every day in one or other form of physical exercise or yoga or meditation? Honestly, 30 minutes every day. Be honest. And I will be surprised that this time it is 100%.
Yeah, a lot of hands have gone down now.
So what is the point which came out of this? So what is the inference from this entire three queries I've asked, and which is very relevant to us, our own growth and capability, which we are referring in context to organization and HR and everything. What is the inference? Anybody? We want to be successful, 100%. We want to be healthy, 100%. How many of us spending 30 minutes every day in one or other form of physical exercise? I think if I can make a percentage out of it, would be 30% of, not beyond 30, 35%, who are consistently daily doing some or other form of walk or jog or some form of physical exercise. So what is the inference we derived out of this? Anybody who wants to attempt?
Anyone from the students who would like to answer?
Yeah, anybody. There is no silly answer. There is always silly question.
So may I go ahead?
Yeah, please. Most welcome.
Yes, sir.
What you inferred?
So I believe most of us are expecting results without putting in the efforts.
Yes. We are expecting results or outcome without efforts. Will it happen in a real world? No. So if you are not doing daily exercise, you are not going to be healthy, period.
Correct.
Correct. And if you're not doing any action, you will not be successful, while it could be your aspiration.
Agreed.
The point is very, very simple, my dear friends, it is all about what you are focusing on a day-to-day basis. Whatever you focus, it expands. So people who are spending 30 minutes every day on physical exercise are moving towards a very healthy lifestyle vis-a-vis others. Means what? Means there is a gap between action and aspiration. We have aspiration, but zero action. Now, what organization will do, what HR will do, what my manager will do has no meaning and no relevance. They can serve you a 5-course meal, but if you're not hungry, that meal is wasted. They can give you all kind of beverages. If you're not thirsty, those beverages wasted. I'm just giving you a metaphor.
Yeah.
These are all development opportunities. These are all opportunity to grow, learn, and achieve success. The brass tack is, the bottom line is, we have to bridge the gap between our aspiration and the action, period. And I always been believing, and I always been anchoring and leading this particular thought process that self-development is self-responsibility, period. We should not be in a utopia that, I've just come in, joined the organization, and now, because I've joined the organization, there is a department called HR, there is a department called T&D, there is the L&D, there is a manager, there is a CEO, there is a entire organization out there who will help me to grow and become what you call next God gift to mankind. That doesn't happen. Only thing which matters is I have aspiration, I have a goal, and I'm commensurating with the relevant action, which is nothing but identifying your own inherent talent, which I believe is out of syllabus. Never ever in any either upbringing of ours or in any of the MBAs and so-called high-end education, there has been any chapter called how to unleash and identify your inherent talent and enable it to explode. It is out of accident, it is out of self-discovery sometime for few people, but most of the time it is, I will say, a very, very serious accident of human capability and potential. We are talking about capability. It's the biggest, I will say, travesty that I will say worth. We never calculate the value of it, and if you of human potential and capability, it will run in trillions. So I'm just giving you the magnanimity of what is happening every day. Least aside what will happen once you join an organization with a paycheck and CTC and all those things. The action for this success and being healthy and being, as I said, you can say development oriented, start from today, now. But first thing first is you identify what are those inherent talent, which we call strength. Do we know? And if we know what we are doing every day on it, it is almost like becoming a healthy regime. I don't want to sound preachy, but this is my own journey of self-discovery. And I'm doing my second PhD. I've done my first PhD at the age of 41. I'm doing my second PhD. I've wrote a book. I've done whatever. This is all about being into the journey of a self-discovery and leveraging your own strength. It's not about doing anything else, but to, as I said, whatever you have, how best you can utilize it. And organizations are always there to support you, provided you own this agenda of self-development is self-responsibility.
Very thought-provoking, sir. Thanks a lot for your views. I think your words will live on in my mind for a long time. Really thought-provoking. You talked about strengths and harnessing the power of individual strengths. So I want to talk about when we work in teams, there are different generations, there are different demographic groups that we're working with. So how can we leverage the unique strengths and talents within this diversity of different generations, demographic groups? How can we do that? Starting with you, Sanjeev, sir, this time.
Okay, perfect. So in any, you can say, setup, whether education, whether it is enterprise, whether a society, you will have the, as I said, very diversified demography in any group for that matter. I don't call it a team, I call it a group. The moment group has a one common goal, it becomes a team. As simple as that. But how we leverage from each other in a very diversified, as I said, demographic team is to give that kind of, I will say, respect and space, wherein you learn from each other. I think the idea is, if you total experience of all the people in a group, it will run in 150 to 200 years, which nobody physically live. Now that's the power of, as I said, learning from each other. And I think it can be made very, very specified rather than making it very esoteric, is in terms of, okay, what is one, I will say, priority for me to achieve the next level of my own success and growth? If I have kind of articulated it well, then I will seek that particular thing in terms of the diversity of experience which the all other team member has, or I will try to trigger those conversation and discussion within the group to achieve that desired, as I said, learning or exposure or critical experience or that nuggets of insights or reflection, anything for that matter. But then that clarity should be in my mind, what I am seeking, which is seeking me. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you, as simple as that.
Right.
And this is powerful, very, very powerful. And we all are, you can say, function of that, consciously or subconsciously.
Absolutely.
So my only point is how you, as an initiator, you try to trigger those conversation and interaction among the diversified team to get various perspectives, because learning is nothing but a sum of perspectives. Nothing else. My learning is my learning, your learning is your learning. But when both of sit together and share each other's perspective, we get a very different dimension to the same subject from a very different context. Because everyone context is very different. Thanks to our upbringing, a very diversified upbringing.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for this. Paramveer, sir, your views?
So maybe I can give an example of, let's say, the Indian Army, right? Or any army for that matter, right? So they always have a diversified people across the country joining the same army, right? They will have people in the different ranks, different ages, different groups. And so whenever there is a war sort of a situation, right? And all the armies, which is Navy, Air Force, and so defense all come together. They just ensure that they have to defend the country. So when we see that this is a diversified experience, which is, driving this, and keeping one objective in mind, that we have to save our country. So somebody is there, most experienced person, not really from the age or otherwise, but obviously most experienced person who actually, done a lot of those wars, maybe would have seen a lot of those scenarios. So once they are creating a strategy, they are making some war for sort of an environment there to ensure that they will have right people standing at the front and they are leading it, and somebody sitting at the back, they're making strategy as well. And then they have army of people, who will be going at the front and really, fighting with the opponents as well. So just give it as an example of, the people of, when we see that in the army, they have a diversified culture, they have a diversified experience as well, which is making them one as a one nation, one objective by saying that we have to defend our country. So I don't want to explain that in detail, but I think that explains pretty well.
It does, sir. Thanks a lot. I love the army analogy, and as Sanjeev sir said, learning is a sum of perspectives, and that's really can be seen in army defense forces of the country. Definitely. Kamal sir, your views on this?
So unleashing the potential is something that we spoke about, and talking in terms of how we can look at a group, a team. There are two perspectives that I want to bring onto the table. One is when you are hiring new talent as well as an organization, right? You would like to look at, okay, hiring this XYZ people will really help the organization grow forward, number one. Number two, the second perspective, now as a manager or as an individual as well, when you are joining the team, or as a manager, when you are selecting somebody for your particular team, the point that comes into my mind and what I recommend to all the leaders and managers is, do you think adding this person to your team will bring in or up your skill level as a team? So let's say, there is no proper mechanism to do this, but I would say today, I'll go back and question a leader and also somebody who's joining the team, both of them the same question. Today, the skill level of the team is, say, 4 on 5. Do you think adding this person to the team, will it up your rating or your own assessment of your team skill from 4 to 4.1, right? So that is from a skill perspective. Now, from a culture perspective or an attitude perspective, I'll again just go back to what I said earlier as well. One is your passion. The other one is, your own potential and the creativity that you bring in. So for somebody who are going to be future managers and leaders, all of you whom I'm talking to, when you are going into an organization, think about these aspects. And as employers, what employers would like to enable you all is, we will give you the platform to, showcase your potential and also the creativity. So from a team perspective, think about the team that you're joining. Will it also help you upskill yourself, right? Do other team members of your team have some complementing skills from which you will learn? So going back to the point that Param made, the learning aspect of it.
Thanks a lot, sir. It really strikes a chord with me having complementary skills and asking yourself, are you adding value to the team or not? Great. Thanks a lot for this. Sunanda ma'am, your views.
I don't think I would have too much in addition to what Param also mentioned here. And so as far as this, again, I would rather bring it to more, upfront and how it actually works out at, on the job floor. As far as, see, it's very common. It's like elephant in the room, and and again, as I say, it's not really fault of either side, but it's a hardwiring thing. So anyone who comes as, let's say, 10 years younger in the team, and there is somebody who's been in the system for very long, it's very obvious to have, there are times when people sense, would he or she be able to do the job the way I have been doing for so long? I have done it. I've been there, done that, been the master of my art for so many years. There is no way somebody as young would be able to come and, do the job as well. And on the other side, someone who's very young, enthusiastic, vibrant personalities, and you're gung-ho, you want to make the change on day one and, be called as, making the impact. It's again difficult for them to, someone who's been in the system for long to say, if let's say processes, they take time, structures are meant because they have been in the system for long. And especially people who are, young, they come and feel, why do we need this? Why can't we do it like this? This would take lesser time. This would be more efficient. And, because we have learned something new and maybe these people are not as updated. So both sides have their own, view of looking at this. The easiest way, and again, no third person can do this, is first of all, of course, this part is the ideal part, having the open mindset to embrace each other's strength areas rather than focusing on what might not be right. So, and that openness and having authentic conversations around make all the difference. Where somebody who's a senior and somebody who's, a young from fresh out of college, understanding that both the greatness of experience, greatness of age, and the energy that a young person gets, that combination is deadly. It's brilliant. But combining them in a way that makes the team work well, and understanding that both together would be able to make that difference. So having that open mindset actually helps. And especially from, I have seen leaders who have, I'll give you an example, somebody like 𝐓𝐴𝐌 𝐊𝐚𝐬𝐴, the famous movie director. He was a CEO at Lintas a while ago. So I don't remember a time where he would make, people sit, and they are all young folks who are joining these agencies and advertising industry, and he wouldn't ask them, or give a speech, I have done this so many years and I have built this, and he's like, tell me what was the last, most rewarding thing that you went through, or something. He would ask questions, he would probe, he would make people comfortable and make them feel important. There's this quote that I refer to when I speak to a manager, I feel they're important. When I speak to a leader, I feel I'm important. So a leader is the one, someone, so it's irrespective of age, irrespective of, backgrounds or where we come from. It's a trait. It's a mindset. It's a game of mindset more than anything else. So once that, authenticity and openness exists between people, that's when it makes it easy. And I think somewhere the other onus of initiating that or building that would maybe lie more on people who have more experience, because they have seen it more. The maturity of mere age and experience also allows them to understand that maybe someone who's coming young might not really understand the importance of what experience is. So let me handhold subtly and bring them on this side. And of course, equal responsibility lies on the other side, depending on how they perceive and how they embrace this. But it's actually a great space where, you see it these days, where these are 25-year-old, 27-year-old CEOs who are, making it big in the world. And so there's no more a bar of where you can determine skills basis age. So that clarity or that humility, when it comes on both sides, it makes it very easy for people to come together, work and build something better, rather than getting stuck in these petty things of experience and age and this. So I think that's where I'm glad that things are moving that side. Glad that, things are where people actually perceive, your talent, not because of your background, your age, your experience, but because what you bring on the table. Simple as that.
Thanks a lot for this, Sunanda ma'am. I think what we have discussed today on the concept of human capabilities, or as Sanjeev sir says, our capabilities, I think it's going to really strike a chord with everyone present in the audience. Now that we have established the basics of human capability, I would like the panel to move on to the other end of the topic, which is to reimagine the power of people. And it is really hard to reimagine anything today without the use of technology. I know we discussed that it's the human capabilities that will drive the things forward, and technology will just be an enabler. But what are your views that what would be the most in-demand skills in the future? Maybe technology, maybe non-technology, and how can we as people promote these skills, which are really futuristic?
Savinay, sorry. In order to make the entire engagement little non-monotonous, because we are only hearing our own voice, if we can have some Q&A from the all the students, because ultimately we are here for them, not for ourselves. So if you can give, say, for after each of the block of your entire flow, a few questions to be taken, which will make the entire engagement much more meaningful and productive.
Sure, that's sir. Point taken. I would like to move to the team to take Q&A forward if they have any questions on the first section that we have discussed already. Shivangi, if you can take this forward.
Yeah, sure, Savinay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. So anyone who has any question for the first sections of our discussion, you may please raise your hands and ask any of our panelists any questions from any one of them.
So I think we are designed to not ask questions or designed to ask questions.
No, we are.
I was expecting a barrage of questions coming in from.
Ria is asking something, I guess. Ria has raised her hand.
We have a few
now we have triggered. Yes, great. Thank you for asking questions.
Yeah, Rio, you can go ahead.
Hello. Sure. Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for such an enlightening session so far. So my question was, whenever we talk about human capabilities and upskilling people in the organization, there's a huge correlation between how they feel belongingness towards the organization, and as per that, how much they want to grow in the organization. So how does, as employers and HR managers and leaders, do you ensure that employee engagement and that employee belongingness helps the employee to feel that they want to upskill as well, and feel that it's not just for their own career prospects but also for the organization? So how do you go about that? It's open to the panel.
All right, so let's go ahead with Kamal, sir. We'll take everyone's opinion on the question.
So basically, okay, I'm just thinking through this, right? So you are bringing upon some things that we all have seen in the past, right? So when we look at things from our own perspective, we have this opinion of, okay, what it is going to be, right? I will go back to the basics of it, right? So let me tell you that, is it making sense for me, right? Is it making sense for me to look at that aspect from this angle, right? You have your own perspective, but there may be a lot of things that you would have seen around from different people, heard about from different people. Your own research also matters. But from our perspective, there is one push that we look at, okay, is this the place that I want to be, right? Now, the second thing is, from an organization perspective, it's important for an organization to see, is this the right individual or, or a person who's going to come and add value to our organization. And as Sunanda rightly mentioned, a leader will make me feel I am important, versus as a manager will make me feel that, he or she might not make me feel the way the leader makes me feel, right? So it is for our confidence booster that we start making our own decisions with a sense which is, logical. And the approach should be not about, okay, what is something that I'm going to gain in return materialistically or something like that, but it's more about your own growth aspect. So how am I growing, right? So these are the two things that I can relate to. I'm not sure if I'm kind of touching upon and giving you the right or maybe the exact answer that you're looking for, but yeah, I can just add these 2 cents from my side.
Great, sir. So, Sanjeev, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very valid point Ria has raised, and I think I will take a step back and give you an entire experience at home. Now, at home, the kind of environment which has been provided by the parents, I think, enable the children to, as I said, get that sense of what you call belongingness and connect, to be very, very open about whatever going in their mind. And I call them, or I call it as the work environment or a culture which has been created by the way the parents role model the value of or values of how to, as I said, enable the younger team member or the new team member to feel very comfortable feel very, as I said, inclusive, and then they open up, because this is a process. And I think that's a role which even all the leaders or the CXOs in any organization has as a parents, that they also have to role model the behavior pertaining to how they really, I will say, live you can say the entire values of involving the last person in the organization to feel connected and participate in this entire process of self-growth, self-discovery, self-development. Because if the philosophy of the leadership is to have each and every team member contributing to the overall growth of the organization, I think these are some of the basics and some of the, as I said, non-negotiable thing, wherein the leadership on a day-to-day basis, in a very, very consistent manner, continue to demonstrate these values, which help every team member in the organization to feel psychologically comfortable about, or having no, you can say fear of any consequence if he or she is giving his learning or perspective, or even challenging some of the status quo within the organization, because challenging the status quo in itself is a significant learning. So I am talking basically about the culture.
Right, sir. Like, really great insights. So next, Nanda ma'am.
I'm sure first, let me say, Savinay, Shivangi, it's very difficult to find a new line after every time a panel speaker says something. So don't worry about it to find new words. It's absolutely okay. Yeah, moving on to this, I really need to learn. It's been a decade and a half, but I've still not learned the art of being politically correct. Let me say this out. The way organizations are designed, leadership, how they feel, it might sound a bit different than what we want to hear, but by design, leadership thinks differently. Of course, there is a bigger vision. There is, a purpose set to how the company should proceed and what we should do ahead, and the bigger things, the fancier things. As we come down in the hierarchy, it's not really exactly the same. We would like it to be the same. Precise reason we want that, sense of, it's like, when you talk about sense of belongingness, it's a simple thing. When you have your own house, you live on rent. Yeah. No matter how much the way you would live in your own house, if you have, let's say, younger siblings, or, the way I have it, our children, the way you would keep your own house would be still different some way, the way you would have your rented house. So expecting, first of all, I think the expectation setting has to be more realistic. So Ria, the sense of belongingness is very difficult for organizations to drive. It has to be self-driven. And if at all, in terms of efforts to be put, they again need to be more realistic here, where and we would, as I said, there are organizations which are very tight-knit, where people feel that everyone does it. Unfortunately, more often than so, that's not the case across. That's not it's more of an exception rather than a rule. So in this sense, I would, so what I talk about when I talk about belongingness is that it's actually team driven rather than organization driven. So we have to break it down and look at it from a team perspective, and hence the right managers are the ones who can instill that, what Sanjeev sir said about role modeling, or building that, the right example, leading by example, rather than the leaders at the top. Because most of the time, once you guys step in the corporate, of course, it's an open door policy these days, but the accessibility of a CEO vis-a-vis your team leader would be different, right? You go to your team manager every now and then to ask about things. You can't go to the CEO for that. So your exposure is at most around these people, your team. So the team leader is the one who actually drives this entire sense, role models. If he or she is the one who's constantly like, nothing works here, the process is not fine, my last company was this and that, etc. So you start feeling that, energy sucking environment, and vice versa. If the manager feels strongly about it, you feel that. And that's where you see that, and the typical cliche that stands true for ages, there are no bad organizations, only bad bosses. And that's very, very true. Let me say this out. So the sense of belongingness will happen on 2-3 levels. One, of course, when the role modeling from the manager, the team environment is such. Two, when you actually feel some alignment to the company goals with your goals. And this is not fancy, this is realistic. So a company, a simple example, there are people who, no matter how well they are paid, they would not work in alcobev companies, or they would not work in, anything that, not precisely healthy products. Or so their alignment of or let's say advertising agencies. A lot of people say that marketing is so much gimmick. It's not the right picture that's shown. So ethically, I'm not aligned to that entire process. So if I'm paid more, I should still look for companies where I strongly feel for the end objective of the company. If I have that some sense of alignment with what the company stands for vis-a-vis what I stand for, you would still feel that some base set of that ownership part of it, or that, belongingness part of it. That's from my side.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much. And we hope that all of us get great managers and great bosses in our future endeavors. So, Param sir, any practical example from your experience that you would like to share on that, on Ria's question?
On that point, Shivangi, you can't choose your father and manager.
Well, we can hope for the best.
No, sir, but we can change the manager. We can't change the father.
You can change yourself. You can change yourself. You cannot change the manager.
So we can change, like we can move the organization. We move from one organization to another rather than, keep on waiting for changing ourselves and succumbing to not so nice things. But yeah.
So that is what we call adaptability.
Yes, I agree.
Shivangi, I think we heard from three speakers for the same question. So I would recommend to have one person to answer the one question, the other three.
Yeah,
so you will
that would be better. That would be better.
Nor cover the questions as well. So I think it should be either way. So
sure, sir.
I agree.
Let's just continue. I mean, I think whatever these people have said, absolutely true. Something which is wrong there. So we always have some different thoughts coming up. So we heard that from the three people already. But I think it's good if we can have one person to answer for the one question.
Sure, sir. So we have another question from Priyanka.
Thank you, Shivangi. Hello, sir and ma'am. Thank you so much for such an insightful discussion today. However, Sunanda ma'am, I would like to appreciate you for a line that actually stuck me, which you mentioned that when you speak to a manager, you feel they are important, and when you speak to a leader, you feel you are important. Ma'am, I believe this is something which comes with experience. So can you, and even Kamal sir mentioned the same lines. So I would like to understand if you have any incident or something which you can mention today that made you say these lines.
Sure. So Priyanka, first of all, in all honesty, I've read this line somewhere. This is not, it's not my own. As I said, it's a quote. It's a quote. It's not my own. Okay. Always good to get credit, but for the right things. So I would leave it there. Rather than picking on the manager part, which is not so pleasant, I would rather pick on the leader part. So one of, ex-bosses and a wonderful leader, where Mr. Kaushal, who was leading Dun Bradstreet CEO at a time. So this gentleman used to have this habit where he would, whenever he's like meeting people, and not immediately whom he speaks to every now and then, like he's in the corridors, he's around, and he would just ask, okay, how's it going? And then people like, oh, CEO is asking, oh, okay, then then you think of some intelligent answer to give. You want to sound smart and you want to give some nice answers. But yeah, it became a practice where asking these questions in the corridors, and asking, okay, oh, I got to know that somebody in your team was not keeping well for a very long time, got hospitalized or something. So you would keep that pulse, keep his eye on the pulse of the company, of what's happening around in small or big ways. So these are very small things to look at. And another example that I can remember, again, one of my leaders, the CMO, he used to have these, he got some very fancy sticky notes from China. And he kept it only that once in a while when people leave the office and then before they come back on Monday, he would write very small, nice notes of something that they have done well during the last week, or something they helped in some firefighting element, and he would put it on the desk. So when Monday morning, when people are like Monday blues, we talk about, but when you reach there, you read this lovely note from your boss, and it's great feeling. It's a great start to your week. I don't think anybody can start by saying, oh God, it's another Monday. So these, initiatives by the manager, by your leader, basically makes a lot of difference to how people feel like going to work at the office. And these are not, again, as I say, this is not the duty of HR to build these engagement. These are a lot of driven by the managers. So how I give this example of mother-in-laws here. Bear with me for a moment, but it's you remember these things more than the other things we are talking about. But there are two types of mother-in-laws in this world. One who has been tortured and tormented by their mother-in-laws. So they say that because I have been tortured and I have not been treated well, I'll ensure that I treat my daughter-in-law that way. She should also understand what is the pain of being a daughter-in-law. And the other kind, which is like my grandmother who passed away, she was this, that because I have been tortured, I ensure that I don't subject you to that. And I treat you the right way so that you don't have to experience what I did. So similarly, classic example of how managers treat their people. So that's two kind of managers. And hence that's where that sense of, when I talk to a leader, I feel I am important. That's where I think that comes from.
Got it, ma'am.
Great
Thank you for
perspective.
explaining. Thank you, ma'am.
So hope that answers your question, Priyanka.
Yes, Shivangi, that answers my question. Thank you for taking that up.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? All right, over to you. Okay, so we have one more question from Bodhisattva. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
So my question would be, how the corporate is being fast-paced nowadays, and now we learn about machine learning, deep learning, and all these things. But someone who are not from technical background, how we will cope up with these kind of changes as the industry is also changing? So that is my question.
Okay, Param sir,
Yeah,
you can go
take
ahead.
this up. Yeah. So I'm very much, close to the technology, because since I passed out in 2004, since then, so I'm into technology recruiting. So maybe I'll just share one example. So I think when I passed out in 2004, I joined a consulting firm, and I used to support Adobe, Samsung, and Microsoft. These are my three direct clients. Excuse me. So with whom I was directly working with them, and I think that time, even if somebody write a Java in this CV, that means is being hired. They know that somebody at least even knows the spelling of Java, written in Java in the CV. At least something he must be aware. Let's go ahead and hire those people. And now, if you look at it, so Java is not the only thing we need in the CV. We need 10 different skills. Savinay can example that. So we need 10 different skills along with Java, saying that this is the right resume for us. What I feel is technical skill is absolutely a need of an hour. We need to keep brushing. We need to keep learning every time. But that's not the only skill we should have to have a successful career. What we see is in the future, what we need to understand is maybe, Sanjeev sir can also complement that. When he would have started his career, was that any of those tech skills were existing? Or when Amazon started, in 90s, early 90s, was that, the technology what they are using now to reach their customer and delivering the products in a day or in less than a day's time, was it existing? Not really. The thought was that we are solving a big problem, right? How to navigate this, how to digitize the stuff, and how to ensure that we are having a good customer experience. That is a problem statement even then and even now as well. They are using technology to ensure that we are meeting those our visions, meeting those objectives as well. So the point here is, so technology is definitely we should learn as and go whenever we need to learn new technologies. And even I think the question whether you had that, even if you are not from the ML background, absolutely no problem. As long as you have a right attitude, you have a mindset to solve the problems. Some of the other way you are leading some stuff, or let's say leading some single set of sessions as well. That means you have a leadership capabilities as well. You should have some more of influencing skills. And whenever you are creating some sort of such sessions down the line, maybe that will also help to understand how to collaborate with other folks who are in your campus, who are your speakers as well. Right. So I think very few skills, even if you are not a technical resource, I'm also not a technical resource. But again, I think in your mindset, you should have a right attitude, right aptitude rather, right? And plus your problem solving skills, influential skills, leadership skills, right? And collaborating with the larger group. I think that's where you can have a success in your life.
Great opinion, sir.
Yeah, anybody else also want to pitch in, but again, I think that's all my thought.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to answer this question, please.
No, I can only say Paramveer is I think is indicating towards my age when he said that I will also compliment him in terms of what kind of new technology I have learned over the period. So he's right. We at our time started with MS-DOS and those dot matrix printer. To today, we are absolutely in a what you call artificial intelligence driven automated systems. So I think being in Gen X, I think you are getting the best of both the worlds, and I think you have to keep learning and keep yourself on toes in order to remain relevant and remain in tandem with the 22, 23 years old boy who are coming from just engineering institute or a management institute, vis-a-vis your managers who would be on a different level of expectation and what do you call experience level, and then obviously your own team. So there are multiple generations you manage, and then that's where you learn and adapt to leverage each and every you can say member of your team, up and down both.
I would like to add to what Param sir and Sanjeev sir mentioned. As far as to extend one part here, Bodhi, that because you said that how do I keep up with the technical know-how, which so again, I believe most of us are not really technical background people. But yes, it's equally important, as Param sir was mentioning, that, to be abreast of what's happening at least. So a quick action plan can be that along with your current, I believe most of you are first year students, right? So with the bandwidth that you have, which again might be limited with your classes and your assignments, projects, but still try finding out 2 to 3 hours a week. First, find out what are the latest trends that are part of that are actually whatever your area of expertise or your area of interest is, your specialization basically. So in your specialization, find out what's the leading trends as far as technical skills are concerned, and then build upon it. Do a small course every now and then to just at least know the basics of it. You can't be expert of all the technical skills, but at least you would know. And when you go to corporate tomorrow, you wouldn't be completely left aghast that, okay, what does this mean? What is this? Let's say you get into talent acquisition. You need to understand the job role. So if you have to understand job role, you need to know what this technical skill is about. What do I need to, what kind of people am I looking for? So that would actually also enrich your profile rather than just doing your, degree and moving ahead with it. So understanding your specialization area, latest trends, doing some courses, and reading about best practices, what's happening in the industry, latest innovation in that space, that will just keep you updated.
Absolutely. Cool. I'd like to add a little bit there, right? So I'm sure all of you are going to have your own internships that you're going to do, right? Basis your, specialization or interest level, etc. keep that alive. And as Sunanda rightly mentioned, take out some time to upskill yourself by looking at what is happening around you and, all that. Apart from that, one very important thing that has really helped me personally, right? I love to understand the organization as much as possible, right? If you are not able to relate to the organization that you're, interning with as well, right? And understand what is going around. So there's no learning which is going to go waste. Any learning that comes to you is a knowledge, and obviously you can use it in the future anywhere that you will feel will help you in growing your own career. All right. So we'll take an example where there is the talent acquisition example that we took, right? So you're joining the talent acquisition function, and when you are talking to the candidates and attracting them to the organization, you yourself, if you do not know about the organization, what will you sell, right? So that is one part of learning as well. So that's exactly why it's so important for us to understand the organization, not just for talent acquisition, for as an employee, for any aspect, right? So you have to align with the vision. If you're not fully aligned with the vision as well, you need to think, right? So today, all of us or your generation can think, what's in it for me, right? Okay, the organization is doing well. I've learned about it. Okay, the share value will go up. Internally, they're doing so many, things. The profits are going to flow in. The revenue is going to be this much. There are future projections also that you might think about. Basis that you will plan your career. So if you think, you're with the organization which is going to go down south, then obviously it's the right time for you to make the move and adapt and move to some other organization. So any learning that comes, don't think it's not going to be useful. It can be the financial learning. It can be the learning about the organization. It can be the learning about the processes, the technicalities involved in building those products. So the key is when you get an opportunity to work with any organization, try to understand it as much as possible.
Thank you, sir.
Very insightful thoughts. Yeah. So we have one more question from Arane Prasad. Yeah, Arane, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. As we are into fourth evolution of industry, that we call it the industry 4.0. So organization might be facing a lot of challenges, to address the lot of challenges into people management. So I want to know that how the organization are facing these challenges and how they are addressing to them.
Yeah, so it's open to anyone who wants to take it up. Sanjeev, sir.
Yeah, so who asked this question?
Arane Prasad, sir.
Arane Prasad. No, it's a very, I will say, very, very relevant and topical question which we have asked. So the only way any new development or new changes which is happening in the external environment is being coped up with by the organization is to create again a work environment which encourage the team members to continue to, as I said, challenge the existing norm of learning. They continue to participate in very, I will say, thought-provoking, you can say, processes and systems. And ultimately, what we are trying to achieve is the way they adapt and adopt to the various changes which are happening. So how we make you can say, team members very agile, very resilient. And that happens by creating that I will say the learning process within the organization in a real-time basis. So more you can say emphasis on the job learning, more emphasis on you can say how the new technologies is getting adapted and adopted within the organization, and then how there is no obsolescence in the skills of the people. So upskilling is another way by which we anticipate what are the various new changes which is happening, whether it is the industry where I am in, which is steel, or otherwise, whether pharma, whether FMCG. So the idea of the leaders, and that is our role is to keep anticipating that what are the new trends, what are the new things which will happen within our industry, what are some of the practices which is currently still in a thought process, but tomorrow it will become a reality. And that is what you need to start, as I said, making part of your curriculum of learning at the shop floor or at the innovation centers or at the, as I said, as part of your even the end-to-end life cycle of the employees. So even hiring, when we are looking at, we are also looking at the people with some exposure or orientation of, you can say, high-speed learning they have, which they can again bring into the organization and try to create that kind of a very contagious environment where people try to learn from each other and put the entire learning process at a very, very high speed.
Yeah, valuable.
Thank you, sir. That answers my question, sir.
So Arane, right? Arane, right? Arane.
Yes, sir.
See, as Sanjeev sir mentioned, the learning part of it is very important and critical, right? So I will, share a little more thought from my perspective where let's take a example of anybody applying for a job, starting from way back in 1998, 1999 or 2000, there were still hard copy resumes, right? So people had to kind of look at the hard copy resumes, and there was a bundle of resumes that used to be on our tables, and we used to look them through. So today, what has happened, right? From then to now, AI helps you. You just put in the job description. There are so many tools that are available, which will quickly give you the top 50 resumes. It's there in the system, right? So as a HR professional, we have also evolved. We also learn that technology, right? And what is an organization do is what is that the organization is going to do? Organizations are embracing this technology. Organizations are embracing the change that people want. Right? People want to automate things. People want things to be faster, things to be transparent. That's exactly why, all of us as human, as, it can get, we are adopting to technology and we are creating the technology to make our lives better. Right? So the organizations are doing a lot of it from your wellness perspective, from your technology adaptability perspective, and with this changing times, right? So you would have seen a different, thought process altogether pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. There were a lot of companies who used to say, work from home is not going to work at all, right? But what happened? Organizations had to evolve, had to change their thought process, their, way of approaching things, because obviously you have to run the business, right? You can't stop the business. So they embraced technology and they made sure that, there is all that infrastructure that all of you need, which is provided for you to perform your job from home. I could hear companies even, sponsoring, and one of my organizations sponsored an entire workstation. We said, okay, we'll give you 50K. Within 50K, you buy a UPS, you buy a monitor, you buy a, desk, etc. And it also went to a level where after some time, the organization said, there's a no meeting Friday, and there were some organizations who said between 12:30 to 1:30, there'll be no meetings, no calls at all, because it's your lunchtime. Because you're working from home, and the expectation was because you're working from home, you're available 24/7. But that's not true. You also need time for yourself, right? So these are the things that happened. And we saw a sudden spike in, people having psychological issues. We had employee assistance programs where people came and said, in fact, that's a confidential thing. We do not ask anything from an employee. They can anonymously go and talk to the doctors and psychiatrists, etc. But we kind of have a hint that the reports are going up, right? So the number of cases that were reported pre-pandemic were, say, 1 out of 100. And this became 10 out of 100 because everybody was going through it was a different change for all of us, right? So companies and organizations are doing all it takes to ensure that the people are engaged, the people are healthy, and wellness has become a key part there. So these are a few things that I thought, I'll share with you, Arune. I hope these are some things that you were looking at.
Sir, thank you, sir. That answers, sir.
Okay, so over to Savinay now.
Thanks, Shivangi, and thanks to all the students for asking these questions. I think it has covered the majority of our further sections. I would, due to the paucity of time, I would throw up a last question to the panel. And because we have talked about soft skills, we have talked about human capability and how we can harness this power. The last question for me, from me towards you is that what are those 2 or 3 soft skills that you think will gain a lot of relevance in this decade and which can create a balance between this technology-driven world and a human-driven world? What will be the 2 most relevant soft skills for this decade? Let's start with Paramveer.
Yeah, so Savinay, I think I did mention that, right? So we should have those skills, right, which is no regret skills, we call it, which means, which is your problem solving skills, your leadership skills, influencing skills, collaboration. So I think all that is a mix of the skills which will remain same, whichever the word we are into, whether it's a technical word, non-technical word. I think this is the one which will be, always be there in life.
Got it. Thank you, Paramveer. Kamal sir, over to you.
Yes, obviously, what it holds, you just cannot predict what is going to come your way, right? None of us predicted COVID, and none of us predicted that we'll have to change our lifestyle and learning capabilities according to what is happening. But what is more important is how we embrace the change, and are we open to any challenge, right? So it's about your willingness to face those challenges. It can be at your job, it can be in your personal life, right? So your macroeconomic factors can change, your dynamics in your companies can change, your dynamics around your personal relationships can change. But we as human, we have to make sure that we are mentally prepared for it and expect the unexpected. That's where I would leave it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Kamal sir. Sunanda ma'am.
This is actually very tricky post chat GPT times of what is it that we can do and the technology can't. But yeah, there's this every year, I guess you might have read this study comes that skills that AI can't replace. You know, and in top of those is something I can remember always, like the sequence changes, but it always talks about first of all starting from empathy. Now, again, it's a very idealistic world and a nice term to have when you talk about empathy, but that's, and it's in all honesty, you talk about creativity. Now, ChatGPT can write thesis. What creativity are we talking about? It can write poems on Parle-G biscuits. So, there is not, there's a lot that our skills as we talk about replacement, but yeah, I think it's a lot, we need to start looking at it in a more complementary manner. And that's where whatever technology can't do is something, especially understanding people, understanding human behavior. And that's where, the key thing that comes across is empathy, where, and as a leader, as a team member, you start there, you begin there and it ends there, especially, let's say, simpler situations where, people coming, work from home kind of situation. And when people had to come back to office, how leaders deal with this entire thing. Some leaders did it what better.com happened. When Vishal Garg, you must have heard that it laid off employees on Zoom over a 10-minute call for 2,500 people. Vis-a-vis, when you talk about severance package, 6 months, you have conversations with them, you spread it in the network that these are some amazing people we had. Am I audible?
We lost your audio in the last minute, Sunanda ma'am.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, we talked about empathy, and then secondly, resilience and adaptability to new situations, as what Param and Kamal already talked about. That would actually drive majority of how people, deal in current situation or changing situations and adapting to change becoming there. And very importantly, our ability to continue to think from our brain rather than reaching out to AI every time for help would something that if we keep on using our brains, somewhere or the other, we'll still be able to deal and, work along with technology rather than against technology. So that's from mine.
Thanks a lot, Sunanda ma'am. I think, even from my experience, when I used ChatGPT for the first time, I thought, wow, this is science fiction. This is so good. But yeah, as we keep on using it more and more, we realize that it lacks empathy, it lacks the human touch to it. And of course, I am sure that human capability will be keeping driving things forward. Sanjeev, sir, what are your views? I can see his video is turned off, but I'm not sure if you can hear us. Shivangi, can you ensure?
Issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's having some trouble with his connectivity.
Okay, sure. Okay, then due to the paucity of time, I would like to take an opportunity to thank you panelists for this really stimulating conversation. I think this conversation will really live on in my mind, and I hope and hopefully it does in the minds of the audience as well. I got to know a lot of rich perspectives from you people about human capability and how we can harness the technology, and it's how human capability is still going to be on the driving seat of the things. So thanks a lot. It was a great pleasure to host you and have you here. Any closing statements from anyone?
Hey, thank you, Savinay, and thank you, the entire community of IIM Kashipur. It's an experience to talking to all of you. And in fact, hearing your questions as well, it kind of puts it in our mind that, there are a few things which are unseen that we should be expecting. But as I said, it was a great experience. Whatever we could share from our perspective, I hope it was helpful to all of you. And thanks to IIM Kashipur for having this platform so that the students can learn from the industry, and we can also gauge what are the students thinking about the industry.
Our pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really would like to thank you, all of you, to invite us for this conversation. And again, I think all the students, I think I could see, I think the number never dropped down for 230. This is actually a good patience if everybody is sitting there and listening to us. But great opportunity for all of us to learn from each other. Again, I think thank you so much once again for inviting us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Savinay. Thank you, the entire team, for every year. I mean, for me, it's a pleasure. It's like coming back home. It's been a few years, and it's always a pleasure meeting new faces, but the same enthusiasm that never goes down. And as Param said, the number never dropped. Trust me, with Zoom calls and the kind of very less number of people that we have in our calls, the number keeps on dropping, videos off. I was scrolling through and I saw videos were on, everybody's listening, looking at the screen. I'm like, wow, that's some sincerity and enthusiasm. So you guys, wish you all the best, all of you. You guys are on a great path. Just one thing that I would like to add and say, with whatever little understanding, knowledge that I have, it's a great time to be in. You guys are at a great time of a century where you have seen the best. You are about to see the best. You have seen the worst of times like COVID. You have already developed the skills that people take over the years, because at an age when we are later 40s or moving beyond, where our absorption might go down, but you have already reached there. So, and you have already gained that perspective, and you are all ready to go out. Just remember 2-3 things where organizations, jobs, careers, all are great till the time I'll add to what Sanjeev said, mentioned, till the time you have that hunger, you have that zeal to keep building, to keep growing, and find your niche, find your space, do something beyond mediocrity and ordinary. There is so much to do. There is so much space, to create your niche. So build upon that, think about it, and, work towards it every day. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sunanda ma'am, for these lovely words. Sanjeev sir, we lost you in the last few minutes, but before I give you the mic, I would say, I read your quote yesterday on your LinkedIn profile, which was about leadership and adaptability. It said leadership without adaptability is managership with the instinct of a dinosaur. I loved this quote. It touches down upon so many themes with just a simple line. So thanks a lot, Sanjeev sir, for this quote, and love to hear your closing comments.
So I feel always nostalgic to talk to the, as I said, physically young people. Mentally, I am also young. In terms of the, as I said, the entire enthusiasm with which you bring in all those very relevant and topical queries which has been asked, and I think thanks Vinay and the entire organizing committee of this I will say networking session. Wherein we enjoyed thoroughly each and every perspective which has been kind of shared by all the co-panelists, as well as you kind of triggered those elements. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is all about our choices which we make every day, and that's where I said you have aspiration to be healthy and successful, but please follow it with the absolutely right action, earnest actions, and you will see the difference. And proving the point that we all are here, Kamal, Paramveer, Sunanda, myself, Savinay, and all of us, wherever we have reached so far, is all about consciously or subconsciously, we leverage our strength. We are not here because of our weaknesses. We are not here because of our areas of development. That doesn't mean we don't have those. We are not perfect, but then we are reaching to our epitome of growth and success, all because of the way we consciously leverage our inherent talent, which is the strength. So identify those, write them down, keep it as part of your daily focus area. Spend in the morning 15 minutes. How I'm going to spend today by leveraging either of the strengths which I have. It could be anything. It could be your creativity, your communication, your negotiation, your team orientation, whatever it might be, what you are good at. And in the evening, 15 minutes, how I spent my entire day, and did I leverage any of the strength which I have? And if you make this a habit, rest assured, we can again chat after 6 months and you will say that, yes, there has been a significant transformation in the way I am achieving my success. Number one. Number two, always, whatever you're passionate about, it could be your hobbies, your vocation, anything you have, please don't lose focus of them. Work is part of our life. Work is not life. I think that understanding has to be very, very, I will say, right away need to be put in, because what happens is we believe that becoming workaholic is the only way to be successful. Sorry. Unless until there is some inputs going in, you will not give the best output. And the input is the energy which comes in when you pursue your hobbies, when you pursue your passion, when you pursue your interest. So that's where you feel fulfilled. Whether you are a painter, whether you are a writer, whether you are a poet, whether you are a singer, whatever hobbies you have, even sports for that matter, pursue it with the same zeal and passion with which you would be pursuing your career, you're pursuing your professional goals. Because if you are not achieving your personal goal, rest assured, you will burn out and you will never achieve your professional goal, period. That is your dopamine. That is your, as I said, the entire hormone of positivity. You get dopamine every time you pursue your hobby. That's the most rewarding feeling one can have. And I can talk from my own journey of being a poet and being a writer and being a speaker and being a practitioner and being a whatever, cook, chef, everything. Every person has 24 hours. No one gets 24 hours, even a single 1 minute extra for pursuing anything. So that is the 24 hours, out of which 10 hours is for work and rest, 7-8 hours for sleep. And the another 6 hours is for your hobbies and passion. You will be a different person altogether. All the best.
Thanks a lot, sir. Completely agreed. And thank you, panelists, for these inspiring words, these inspiring conversations. It was a great pleasure to host you here today. Thanks a lot once again. Over to the team and Shivangi to take this forward.
Vote of thanks from our side, and I'm Kashipur. Thank you everyone for answering the question posed by the students. Now we would like to conclude by thanking and expressing our gratitude to our distinguished panelists for taking out their time from their busy schedules and being a part of the conclave. We talked about inner strength and talent is what we need to find and focus on our own self. In Sanjeev's words, which is what drives human capability. We need to collaborate with different verticals within the organization to succeed and understand how HR is more of an integrative function rather than a supportive function, and share our own experience with others to each other to get to know a different perspective. It was indeed an enriching experience, and I believe that all the students present here have absorbed nuggets of knowledge. Although we really hope we could have conducted this in person, nevertheless, we hope to see you all at our campus at IIM Kashipur soon for further engagements. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Special thanks to Savinay for moderating it so nicely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, everyone. All the best.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
Savinay. Thank you, Saksham, Shivangi. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot,
ma'am.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.